All right. So now we are going to set up the development environment and also initialize the project. So now I'm inside the main folder that used to contain my Rust projects. So inside of that, we are going to create the folder for this project. So let's say make directory e-commerce. So inside this e-commerce, we need to change the directory to it. So change directory e-commerce like this. So after we do this, next thing to do is we are going to initialize the project. All right. So we are going to have both the front end and back end separated inside this folder. So we have to start with the back end. So to do that, we are going to initialize it as Rust project. So we are going to say cargo new, then let's call it backend. So make sure you are connected to internet while you are doing this. All right, so this is created successfully. All right, so now we are going to install the required Axum and Tokyo packages. So to do that, we are going to use cargo. But before then, let's change the directory into the new backend project we have just created. So inside there, let's install them. We are going to use cargo to install them. All right, so this is installed. Then after that, we are also going to use same feature to install Tokyo. So we'll say cargo add Tokyo features full. All right, so hit enter. So this is also added successfully. So now our backend is created successfully. Next thing to do is we are going to load it inside the development environment. Therefore, we can be able to set up the dependency to make sure that everything is working perfectly. So to do that, we are going to make use of, I'm going to use Rust Rover. That's the IDE I'm using. You can use VS Code. It depends on which one is more preferred for you. All right. So now I'm going to load the project. This is the folder we created, which is the e-commerce, this particular one. So I'm going to say OK. So this is going to load up the project for me. So you can see the folder is open here, and inside of it, I have the backend that I have just created, which is also inside of it. All right, so now the project is loaded. You can see the folder inside, which is backend. Then inside of it, some files are generated. Okay, so if we can check them all, we have source. Then inside the source, you can see a file which is main. So this is the entry of the project. So all our business logics are going to be initiated here. All right, so after the source, then you can see we have the cargo, that is this particular one. You can see the dependencies we added. We added Axum, the one that we installed, then also Tokyo. So these dependencies are very much needed. Then after that, there is another one that I'm going to add, which is also going to be needed in the backend. So I'm coming down here. These dependencies, we are going to call it TOA. After this, we are also going to work with database, which is MySQL database. So for we to do that, we are going to use another dependency, which is sqlx. After this, we're also going to use another one with .env. All right, so now these are the dependencies that we are going to work with for now. In the future, if there is need, we are going to add more. All right, so now we are going to set off the database. So the database we are going to use is going to be my SQL database. So I'm going to use XAMPP. So you can see the XAMPP version, which is 8.2. All right, so I've already installed it. So I'm now going to start it off. So to start it off, I'll just click on Start All like this. So if you are using Windows version, there is going to be some little bit difference in the UI of the XAMPP, but you have to just start the MySQL, then the Apache server. That is the two of the items needed. So this have started. Next thing to do is we need to check on the PHP MyAdmin. Therefore, we can be able to create the database that we are going to use. So to do that, we are going to, here we have to search for localhost. So this is the XAMPP that I have just started. Then we'll go to PHP MyAdmin. So here I'm going to create new database. So I'll just click on new. So in here, you can see I have to create the database. So the database, I'll call it e-commerce like this. All right. So e-commerce underscore app. Okay. So just hit enter. So now we have an empty database. So this database supposed to have tables. So there is, I'm going to leave the link for it for you to download. It is just like the schema of the database. So we have many tables. The first table we are going to create is going to be product table. So I'm going to click on SQL. This is it here. You can also type it. You can see create table if not exist. Product. Product will have name. Product will have description, price, then stock, then image URL. All right. So we are going to create this table. So let's just click on go. You can see the table is created here with all the columns. So we are going to deal with many other tables. So the next one is going to be for orders. So here we are going to, inside this same database, we are now going to go to SQL, then create it. The next one is going to be orders. Inside order will have ID, customer name, customer email, total sent, then created at. So we are going to create this. And after that, I'm going to run another command at the same time, which is going to be order items. All right. So this is going to be order ID, product ID, quantity, price that is sent. Then we have foreign key and also for the product ID, and also for this a relationship between the order and between the order items and the order, and also between the order items and the product. All right, so now we have the tables created. So the next SQL we are going to run is now going to be like we are going to seed some product into the database. So to do the seeding, I have just 4 products. So I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to leave the link of this schema. Therefore, you can download it and just run it in your SQL as I did it here. So this is going to be the schema of the product we are going to inject. There is name, description, price sent, product, then image URL. All right, so I'll just click on go. So now let's check the product table. You can see it is populated with these 5 items: name, description, price, stock in number, then the image URL. All right, so now we are done with this. Next thing to do is how do we connect it with the project. So to complete that aspect, I'm going to minimize this. So in here, you can see we're supposed to have a file which is going to be env file. All right. So to do that, in here, we right click, we say new file. So you just have to put dot, then env, and hit enter. So inside this, we are now going to create a variable, that is environment variable. So you have to say underscore app. That is the name of the database we created. But let's try to confirm that. Therefore, you know that you did not miss anything. So you can see e-commerce app. That's the name of the database that we have created. So we are on the right path. So now this is going to be used to connect to the database. So now we are going to create the database connection pool. So to do that, we need to create a file that is going to handle that. So inside the source folder, here we are going to create a file. We are going to give it a name of dv. You can give it any name. So this is going to be a Rust file. So now we need to use some of the packages we have installed earlier, especially the SQL, because our database is SQL. So I'm going to use. All right, so now after adding this, next thing to do is we are going to read the database URL from the environment variable that we have just created recently. So to do that, we are going to use pub. All right, so now let's try to get the URL, that is the database URL. So create a variable. So maximum connection is going to be 5. Then next thing is .connect. We are going to use the database URL. So we are going to use await, then expect database fail like this. All right. Instead of separating it differently like this, we are going to use it inside in place of this, or rather, let's use it here. So now I will get rid of this. All right. So now we have created the connection full. So we can now be able to easily use this DB file to connect to the database immediately. All right. All right. So now we are going to set up the data type. So for you to set up the data type, we need to create a model file here. So right click on this source folder, then you are going to create a file. So you are going to call it model. So in here, we are going to import the necessary dependencies. So the first one we are going to import is going to be sed. All right. So after this, next, we are now going to create a struct. So this for the product. So we are going to call it product. So product is going to have ID, then the name, the data type is string, then we are going to have description, so description is also going to be string. Then next we are going to have the price. So the price we are going to use cent. So this is going to be 64-bit. So this is going to be integer 32, which is the stock. That is the count of the stock. Then after that, we're also going to have image URL of the picture. All right, that is the product picture. So this is also going to be string. So as we create this, we need to add the annotation at the top. So this is going to be drive. Then inside the drive, we are going to have the debug, serialized, then the serialized. Then after that, we can also use clone. And after that, we are also going to use partial. So later on, we are going to understand much about this. All right, so this is the data type of the product. All right, so we have name, we have description, we have price, we have stock, then we have image URL. So now we are going to stop here. Later on, we are going to update the models. That is when we start dealing with order and other stops.